Welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast about life, love, loss, and the truths we discover along the way. Together, we'll explore the struggles that shape us, the lessons we carry, and the hope that keeps us moving forward. This is more than stories. It's honesty. It's healing. It's real. Let's get started. And now your host, Glen Nunes.
This is your host, Glen Nunes. It's where we dive into life's hardest emotions and discover the beauty that can come from being broken open. So today, we're going to talk about rebuilding. It's a very important topic, I think, and this is episode 13. I'm already up to my 13th one and getting better at these, I think, and I worked on some audio and trying to fix these up a little bit more, and let's see what happens here. So let's get right into it. So rebuilding, it starts in silence. I really don't even know where to begin, but some days rebuilding means just getting out of bed, and but God rebuilds what life destroys, and we're going to talk about that coming up, and He never leaves us in the ruins. So I didn't want to rebuild this time. I didn't choose it, but here I am. I'm trying to figure out just how to live again in the middle of the ruins that I didn't ask for, but that's what life does, And maybe rebuilding doesn't start with strength. Maybe it starts with honesty, with just breathing, with letting God just touch the places that broke me. So I'm going to start this episode from a place that I never expected to be. I was sitting alone in the airport last week, and just sitting in the chair, and I was surrounded by a bunch of strangers, and I realized that morning, just maybe 6 months ago, I was thinking of sitting at the airport for a totally different reason. But I realized something that morning, that rebuilding doesn't start when you're strong. It starts when you're broken. It starts when you're confused. It starts when you're sitting in the place wishing things were different and wondering how everything that you trusted just fell apart so fast. So it's what it is. Rebuilding starts in the rubble, not in the recovery. So, but that's where rebuilding actually begins, though. Like I said, not with confidence, not with clarity, but with truth. So rebuilding isn't about bouncing back. That's the lie that people tell you, because they don't know what to do with your pain. They just like to come up with the comments, and that's not how it goes. So rebuilding is it's not inspirational at first. It's definitely survival. It's waking up in the morning and forcing yourself to put one foot on the ground. That's kind of what you do. It's going through the day, trying not to fall apart in public. It's eating when you have no appetite. It's praying even when you feel you have nothing, and you feel your prayers just hit the ceiling. But it's trying not to collapse under the memories that show up uninvited. So because rebuilding doesn't start with strength, it starts with the decision to try again, and even when you don't believe in the outcome yet. So rebuilding doesn't start with confidence. Like I said, it starts with honesty. It begins in the moment that you choose you, even while you still feel shattered. And you can read every book, you can listen to podcasts like I do, you can read every positive quote, and you still feel hollow inside. But God's plan is real, though, so you got to hang in there. Sometimes He closes a door because what's behind it would have crushed you in the long term. That's how you got to start thinking about things. And sometimes He lets, the wrong love fall apart so that the right one can enter right at the right time. And that could mean a rebuild with somebody or a new person. It could mean anything. And I don't know what your situation is, because when I do these podcasts, everybody's situation is different. So you got to put yourself in your own shoes. So, I don't know. Just you don't go through something that breaks you and come out the same person, because rebuilding changes you. It shifts your identity, your mindset, your spirit, your expectations, everything. It's like when you start rebuilding, you begin to realize that you're not the person that you were before the hurt. You just stop chasing what hurt you. One of the biggest signs you're rebuilding is when things that you once pulled you in no longer do. You stop trying to prove your value. You stop accepting the bare minimum. You stop negotiating with the red flags. And why? Because rebuilding gives you clarity. And clarity is it's expensive, and you only get it after losing something that really mattered. So there comes a moment, sometimes suddenly, sometimes slowly, when you realize I can't stay where I used to be. My heart doesn't fit there anymore. You begin to understand your patterns, your triggers, your needs. You begin to see how deeply you love, how deeply it hurt because of the love. And instead of punishing yourself for feeling too much, you start appreciating the depth. That depth. You're not rebuilding a house. You're rebuilding a soul, and souls don't heal quickly, especially when the loss was deep, and especially when the love was real. So let me just say that clearly. You're not weak. Let me say this clearly. I mean, you're not weak. You're not pathetic or a failure. You're just grieving the death of a future that you planned. You're grieving the version of yourself who loved fearlessly, and you're grieving the life that you were building. Grief is not a flaw. It's just evidence that you loved. So your mind might still be stuck. Your thoughts might still spiral. Your chest might still tighten, but your heart's trying to breathe again. So healing doesn't start with strength. Healing starts with exhaustion. Rebuilding starts showing up in places like a morning that you woke up without that knot in your stomach, a song that used to wreck you, now it just stings a little bit, a memory that makes you sad but not shattered, a silent drive that feels peaceful instead of chaotic, maybe a breath that feels deeper than the last 100 of them that you took. You don't realize you've turned a corner until you look back and say, cried less this week, or I handled that moment better than I thought I would. That's rebuilding. That's restoration in motion, and that's your spirit rising again. So I don't know. It definitely, rebuilding happens from the inside before it happens from the outside. So I actually did this podcast. I was getting into this. I was taking my notes, and after I was writing, I realized I have 3 hours of stuff here. And it was so much biblical stuff, and I'm like, I had to redo the whole thing. I was like, I got to shorten this thing up, and I just really got into this. So I actually, at church, I talk about how I intertwine my life's experiences in scripture and songs and podcasts I listen to and information off the internet. But I also, I want to mention this more. I do, when I go to church, I listen to the sermons, and I take a lot from them as well. And that's been helping me lately of what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I hear things, and that's what you're supposed to be. Church, I love when you move there by the Spirit. But a couple of scriptures came up in the sermon this week, and one of them was James 1:2-4. So it's, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, consider it pure joy. It's because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and you consider it pure joy, because I got a lot of that scripture. I did a lot of studying on it, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, James kind of just doesn't say the suffering feels good. He says the suffering produces something good, because the pain brings you back to God. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So that's why James calls it joy, not because the suffering is joyful, but because of the result. The result is so. And another scripture I got was 2 Corinthians 4:7, jars of clay. It's kind of, if you read that passage, it's believers who are like just ordinary fragile vessels that they contain a great spiritual treasure, the gospel of Jesus. That's what the treasure is. So despite being pressed or perplexed or afflicted, believers are not crushed. The life of Jesus can be revealed through the struggles. And I love that other scripture too, that Jesus is close to the brokenhearted and those who are crushed in spirit. So that, I thought that led me to that scripture as well. But the clay jars in the ancient times, they were cheap, they were plain, they were fragile, they're easily cracked, they're not impressive. And Paul says that's us. But here's the miracle: God puts his treasure inside those fragile jars. And why? So when the world sees you survive something that should have destroyed you, they know the strength isn't from you, it's from him. So God isn't looking for perfect, polished, unbreakable people. He uses the cracked, the hurting, lonely, the betrayed, the exhausted, the ones who feel like they're barely holding on together. Those are the jars that he fills and uses. And it's to spread his word. And those are the hearts he rebuilds. And those are the lives that he shines through. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that I got those couple of scriptures out of the sermon this week, because Maybe because I've been very emotional and pain in this, and, that I haven't been in emotional pain like this in a long time. So a lot of this stuff hits me a lot harder now. So I'm rebuilding again, and my heart's raw, and I'm exhausted. Yep, but I'm wrestling with the confidence, my worth, my past, my future, my faith. All these podcasts I'm doing, my conversations, just everything is just. I just want to say it's all a part of kind of God just uses like ordinary crack people to reach ordinary crack people. That's kind of what I'm saying. So whether you believe it or not, I do. So I don't know. So sometimes God removes someone because could have been harming your future. Sometimes the enemy attacks a relationship that had potential, and sometimes free will wrecks what God intended for good. And sometimes people simply just choose comfort over growth. I don't know which one, my last episode here, I don't know which one it was, but rebuilding isn't about figuring out someone's gone, or it's just about trusting God and what's coming next. So, because no matter how that door closed, God is the one preparing the next one to open, and it could be the same door. Who knows? But rebuilding isn't a sprint. It's not an overnight miracle. It's not one prayer and everything's better. It doesn't work that way. It's just, here's the beauty that you can't even see yet. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to realize the panic's gone, the knot in my stomach's gone, the anger's quieter, the sadness is softer, the future doesn't scare you anymore. That's the day you long for. You take a breath that feels like fresh air, and you'll wonder when you'll actually just wonder when the rebuilding actually happened. And God will whisper, He'll tell you, when you were crying, I was rebuilding. When you were doubting, I was restoring. When you felt lost, I was guiding you. When you were hurting, I was healing you. And when you felt abandoned, I was holding you together. I've rebuilt my life more times than I can count, and not because I wanted to, but because life forced me to. And I've had seasons where I lost everything. I've lost my home. I lost my family structure, my identity, my stability. And every time I thought it was over, I found a way to rebuild. And I've been through things that would have made most people give up, things I never talk about publicly. I've been talking about a lot lately, but I've been through a lot of stuff and things that broke me to the core. But every time life knocked me down, something in me just refused to stay there. I had a beautiful home. I worked my back off my whole life to give my kids a life that I didn't better than how I lived, and had a great home and the marriage and the kids and everything, and that lost that. Then I rebuilt. I moved into another house in the same town and rebuilt again, and then met someone and then moved again and moved in with them, and then that fell apart and I lost everything because there was reasons why I moved what I did, and I don't want to get into that right now. It'd take too long, but I sacrificed again and gave all my stuff up just to go help somebody and help a family, and that failed. And then I ended up, I don't want to say homeless, but damn close. I didn't know what I was going to do. My stuff was in the trailer, and I ended up where I'm at now, and I thought that I was in a great position. After rebuilding again, I'm like, wow, I didn't have what I had before, but I was the happiest I've ever was in my life, and I thought everything was what I prayed for. And then rebuilding again, man. The hardest rebuilding wasn't moving into the new places or buying the new furniture. The hardest rebuilding was inside, learning how to trust again and how to love again and how to breathe again. And now, like I said, I'm here again, not rebuilding a house this time, but rebuilding myself, rebuilding my emotions, my faith, my hope. And, you think what you're going through in the end, is the end, but trust me, it's not. I've been through hell more than once, and God rebuilt me every single time. So I don't know. I guess my life is one long story of rebuilding, and this last one is not the one that's going to break me either. It's not. It's the one it's kind of the one that's revealing how strong I've already come from this. So life gives you one of two choices. You either just lay down and you let life bury you, or you get back up and you rebuild from the ashes, man. Every single time, and even when I didn't want to, that's what I did. I rebuilt. I rebuilt when I was mentally broken. I rebuilt when I was financially empty, and I rebuilt when I was emotionally drained, and I rebuilt when I felt completely alone. So this has been a few times in my life. The hardest was my forever though. I'm not gonna lie, my heart just didn't lose a girlfriend. I lost a best friend, I lost a companion, a witness to my life. And when you lose the one who's woven into your everyday, the one who saw your mornings and your nights, and who saw your jokes and your quirks and your patterns and your warmth, and that kind of loss hits you in places that you didn't even know existed, man. But rebound isn't about hammering nails and finding new routines. It's about stitching together a life. And the person that that used to witness your days isn't there anymore. So it's a tough rebuild. But I rebuilt when life handed me blows that, like I said, most people would have quit. But I did learn that the hardest rebuild isn't packing boxes, and it's not finding a new place to live or starting over physically. It's internal, man. It's rebuilding parts of you that we're taking, like your confidence, your identity, your trust in people, your trust in yourself, hope in the future, and here I am rebuilding again. Like I said, not a home, no, not a bank account, not furniture or life structure. I'm rebuilding my heart, man, and I'm rebuilding the version of me that loved with everything that got shattered in the process, and I'm rebuilding the man inside, the one who refuses to give up, the one who just keeps going, and the one who just keeps believing that God is doing something. I don't know whatever he's doing. I can't see it. I just don't know what he's doing with me. And if you're listening to this and you're rebuilding too, and you're in a situation, you're not rebuilding from weakness. You're rebuilding because life tried to break you, and you just refuse to stay broken. So, and it's not a flaw. Rebuilding is it's proof that you're stronger than what tried to destroy you. So there's something that happens when you've been broken enough times too, when you've had to rebuild more than once, when life has knocked you flat, and still somehow you just keep getting back up. You realize that you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience this time. And every rebuild teaches you something. The first time you rebuild, it's panic, and you're lost, you're confused, you're unsure of who you are and what you lost. And the second time you start to recognize patterns, you understand the warning signs, you start to see what wasn't healthy, and even when it hurts to admit it. And then the third time, yes, sometimes life forces you into a third rebuild, and you begin to understand something even deeper. You weren't breaking, you weren't reshaping. Every collapse, though, wasn't the end. It was the start of becoming somebody stronger, wiser, more aligned. And but this time, this rebuild definitely feels a lot different. This isn't like I said, the rebuild of a house or furniture or jobs or routines. It's rebuilding my identity, my faith, my confidence, and my trust in life and love and myself and God. And this time I'm just rebuilding slower, more intentional and more grounded. And I'm not rushing off to fill any empty spaces. I'm not grabbing for anything that feels like a distraction. I'm not rebuilding with desperation. I'm rebuilding with purpose this time. And one of the hardest truths is to accept in rebuilding. To accept in rebuilding is this. It's like you just don't know how the story's going to end. You don't know if the person who broke you will one day knock at your door with a changed heart. You don't know if God will restore what was lost or replace it with something healthier, safer, maybe steadier. You don't know if someone new will walk into your life with a kind of love that you begged for and you never received. And you in that uncertainty, not knowing, that's the part that drives you crazy, because your heart wants something to hold on to, a direction, a sign, a guarantee, something that tells you, the chapter that that God is writing next. But rebuilding just means you got to accept that. You got to accept that sometimes love returns, sometimes it doesn't, and either way, that you're going to be okay. You have to just try to live with that. And it gets easier every day. That's what they tell me, and that's what I'm trying to do. And here's the truth that we don't like to even say out loud. Sometimes the person that you thought you'd spend your life with ends up becoming a lesson instead of your partner. And sometimes God allows someone to come into your life not to stay forever, but to awaken something inside you that needed to come alive. And sometimes the love you wanted isn't the love that you needed. Sometimes the person you begged for isn't the person who would have protected you long term. And sometimes they do come back, and when they do, they come back different. They come back softer, quieter, more aware of what they lost, more awake, to what you were offering that they couldn't receive. If love's meant to return, it will find you on a path of growth and not a path of waiting. And if love is meant to come from somebody new, they're going to find you stronger, grounded, more grounded, and wiser. And because of what you survived in, you're not chasing anyone anymore. You're not begging for clarity. You're not searching for crumbs. You're just letting life and God and just bring what is aligned instead of what is familiar. That's kind of what you're doing here. And if someone's meant for you, their heart's going to shift towards you. It's not going to shift away from you. You won't need to force it, fear it, or fight it. Real love doesn't slip away when it gets hard. Real love doesn't run to chaos. When peace is right in front of it, when they run into chaos, it just I don't know, I shake my head. But real love doesn't replace you. The moment that it gets uncomfortable. Real love stays. It grows. Real love returns with intention, not confusion. So healing doesn't mean the pain goes away. Like I said earlier, it means that the pain no longer gets the final say. So you still cry, you still remember, you still feel the loss, you still miss what you had, but you stop telling yourself that I'll never get over this. This is the end. I'll never be happy again. And you start telling yourself, this hurts, but this isn't where I'm going to live forever. Healing begins in the moment that you stop lying to yourself. It begins in the moment then when you stop lying to yourself and you stop lying against yourself. You have to choose someone that matches your effort, not someone that makes excuses, not someone who keeps you waiting, who gives you breadcrumbs, and not someone who shows up only when it's convenient. You want equal effort, equal vulnerability, equal investment, equal loyalty, equal honesty. That's what you need, and that's what I'm looking for. You choose someone who meets you halfway, not someone who forces you to walk the entire distance alone. Sick of being alone. And I don't know. And you got to start listening too. You listen carefully to what's outside the gossip. I'm not talking about gossip. You have to consider the source and evaluate what you're dealing with before you get sucked in. So, and that's what I'm talking about is if you're going to repair an old past, or you're going to get into something new. You got to listen to watch all the red flags. Is what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. Because a beautiful face means nothing if the soul behind it can't love you the way you deserve. Because anybody can say, I miss you. Anybody can flirt. Anyone can call you in the middle of the night. Anyone can make you feel wanted for a night. But you don't want somebody who talks about loving you. You want someone who proves it and shows you. You only accept someone who chooses you clearly, consistently, and willingly. Because rebuilding kind of taught me this truth. I'm in the middle of this rebuilding, I should say. Sometimes I think I don't want your mind plays with you. I say maybe I was trying too hard to be loved by the wrong heart. I don't know. If you gave someone the kind of loyalty that most people never get in their lifetime and they mishandled it, that just says everything about them and not about your worth. Because rebuilding is definitely it's not a checklist. It's not a book, a podcast, a pep talk, or a sudden breakthrough. It's a slow, painful, gritty process, a journey that I never asked for, and I'm sure that you never asked for. And you don't rebuild it once. You kind of rebuild in layers. Each layer teaches you something about who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. It's recovering your confidence, your in your intuition, and your identity. You don't rebuild to get the old you back, because pain changes. It really does. And like I was saying earlier, like we think God shows up when life is just good, but biblically, he actually shows up. He shows up more often when life is broken. Look at Moses, broken. David, broken. Elijah, broken. Paul, broken. Peter, broken. On and on and on. So every person God used powerfully was shattered before they were shaped. So, and rare things don't beg to be valued. They stop allowing themselves to be mishandled. When getting back to the rebuilding here, when somebody breaks your trust, it doesn't just mess up your view of them, it messes up your whole view of the whole entire world and of everybody. Suddenly everyone is suspicious. Everyone feels temporary. Everyone feels like they're capable of pulling the same rug out from under you. So you start scanning for the red flags instead of connection. You start expecting abandonment instead of loyalty. And you start assuming betrayal. And even when none of this stuff's even happened. This is what your mind does. Because this isn't because you're broken. It's because your nervous system doesn't know what safety feels like anymore. People will tell you, you just have to let it go. You have to open up. You have to trust again. But no one tells you how terrifying that feels when you've already been shattered. They don't, you don't jump into trust. You walk into it slowly, cautiously, intentionally. You don't just, that's why these rebounds are so stupid, because you got to take things slow, man. I don't know. And as the right person, they won't rush you. The right person won't say, why don't you trust me yet? Or what's the problem? Or why are you so guarded? Or because you're not rebuilding trust in them first. You're rebuilding the trust in yourself. That's what you're doing. So you don't stop trusting people because people are bad. You stop trusting because you feel like your judgment failed. So rebuilding trust in future relationships starts with rebuilding trust in your own intuition. You don't beg someone to treat you right. You don't abandon your own standards to keep someone close either. The right person won't trigger your trauma. They'll help you heal it. And this is very important. So the right connection won't make you feel chaos. It won't make you feel anxiety. It won't make you feel like you're begging for crumbs. The right person, it'll feel like peace. You'll know it because your nervous system will react differently. They will, you'll feel, somebody who loves like I do. That's what you'll say to yourself. If someone is meant for your soul, if they're meant for your life, if they're aligned with your future, you won't have to convince them. Real love doesn't make you sick. It doesn't make you insecure. It doesn't make you feel disposable. There's a moment in every rebuilding season where you stop and ask God, how do I start over again? How do I build a future when I can barely stand right now in the present? Because of all this stuff I'm talking about. Everybody wants the visible miracle, though. God starts the rebuild long before anything on the outside changes, because God rebuilds from the inside out. Before he fixes the situation, he strengthens the foundation that you don't see at first. You don't feel it at first. Quick fixes fall apart. Fast love collapses. Rushed plans crumble. So be aware, because one day you're going to look back and you're going to say, I didn't even realize he was rebuilding me when I was falling apart. And I'm talking about God rebuilding you, because sometimes God answers your prayers by giving you something that you didn't even expect. God won't always give you what you want. Sometimes I say when you pray, sometimes the answer is no. He gives you an answer, but sometimes it's not your answer. But he'll always give you what you need to become, who you're called to be. He rebuilds your future by preparing what's ahead even before you get there. So he's already in your future. He's already opening the right doors, closing the wrong ones, aligning the right people, removing the wrong influences, preparing blessings with your name on them, strengthening the person who will love you right, shaping opportunities that you don't even know exist, building the life that you prayed for, preparing a version of you that will walk into, and you're gonna be walk into a version that you're already healed. God walks behind you to heal your past. He walks ahead of you to prepare your future. It's not some Hollywood moment where you wake up, make a decision, and suddenly your whole faith shifts. Rebuilding happens in moments when you're alone in your thoughts. It happens when you wake up and the first thing that you feel is that heaviness in your chest, but you get out of bed anyway. It happens the nights that you cry in silence and no one else is there to hear it. It's the times that you force yourself into the shower, and it's when your body feels like it's made of stone. The hardest rebuild of your life isn't the one after you, like I said earlier, like you're losing your job or your money or your home. It's the hardest rebuild is right after you lose your person. Like I said, I've lost a ton of things, man. Ugh. I mean, just crazy. I talked about them earlier. I don't want to keep talking about those, but when you love somebody deeply, though, and not through death, I'm talking not through death, but through choice, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your identity. It breaks the version of you that existed with them, the version of you who believed in forever, who believed in loyalty, who believed in the promises, and who believed in the look in her eyes, or their eyes if you're a girl listening to me, who believed that they'd never walk away. And when that version of you dies, you don't just rebuild your life, you rebuild yourself. That's why this type of rebuilding, it hurts more than anything else that I've ever lived through. So you're not just healing from the loss of the person, you're healing from the loss of you that trusted them, and rebuilding after that. It feels impossible because you're tired, you're wounded, you're mentally drained. But this is where rebuilding gets real. Nobody chooses to rebuild their life. Nobody chooses it. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, yep, let's tear my heart apart and let's start from zero again. Nobody does that. Rebuilding is never plan A. Rebuilding it's what you do when the things that you trusted most fell apart right in your hands. It's when the person that you loved walked away, or the relationship you invested in collapsed, the future that you pictured evaporated overnight, and the version of you that you were so proud of was left standing alone. It just feels unfair. It feels exhausting. It feels like you got nothing left but a soul held together with duct tape and prayers. That's what you feel like. You realize it's not about survival. It's not about proving anything. It's not about showing someone what they lost. It's not about winning some imaginary competition. This rebuild is about one thing. You. Okay? You learning who you are without someone else defining you. You learning that peace actually feels like you actually learn what it feels like when it's not tied to another person's mood or choice, or learning what loyalty looks like when it's not conditional. You discovering that your worth never depended on whether someone stayed or walked away. You rebuilding not because life broke you. You rebuild because life is giving you another chance to become someone stronger than the version that got hurt. And so you got to think of that. That's a blessing right there. And here's the part that you won't believe that yet, because you'll feel one day that this rebuild won't feel like punishment. Because right now you probably feel punished if you're like me. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're going through the same thing, you feel like you're being punished. It won't feel like loss. It won't feel like abandonment. It won't feel like redemption. It won't feel like rescue. It'll feel like a turning point in your life. And you'll start to feel it slowly, day by day. The people see the comeback, but they never see the in-between. They don't see the nights that you're curled up and you're trying not to break again. They don't see the night. They don't see the mornings when you're getting out of bed feels like you're lifting a mountain. They don't see the days that you walked around like a ghost because your soul is just still rearranging itself. You wake up every day just trying to make sense of something that refuses to make sense. You replay the conversations. You trace the timeline. You analyze what you missed. You try to understand why someone who said you mattered could turn around and treat you like a just stranger now. It's just, you search for logic in a situation that's built on emotion, fear, wounds, selfishness, confusion, temptation, or even someone else's unresolved past. And that's why it never lines up. Because rebuilding begins when you finally accept this truth that you won't understand this chapter until you're living in the next one. But thing is, we're humans. We want answers now. We want closure now. We want clarity now. We want God to explain why. Why are we still standing in the ruins? The pain didn't happen because you were weak. And the confusion didn't happen because you were foolish. And the ending didn't happen because you weren't enough. There was a truth that you couldn't see, a danger that you didn't recognize, a path that you weren't meant to walk forever. I look at my life. I've rebuilt more times than most people. People on average rebuild one time in their life. I've had to start over after losses that would have crushed someone else's spirit permanently. I've been betrayed, abandoned, lied to, cheated on, discarded, underestimated, thrown in a dumpster, treated like an option. I never had someone want me unconditionally. Been told it, but I've been left feeling totally worthless. But yet here I am. I'm not because I didn't break, because I refuse to stay broken. And that's rebuilding. It's not perfection, it's endurance. And here's the part that hits harder more than you think about. Every single time my world collapsed, I didn't collapse with it. Maybe I hit my knees. Maybe I cried. I went to my knees. I cried in my car. Maybe I spiraled hundreds of times. Maybe I stared at the ceiling for hours, wondering how I was supposed to just keep going. But I did. I just kept going every time. And right now, even in this worst season, even in this thing I'm going through, I never saw it coming. And even in the disappointment that rewired my soul, I'm still fighting. And that's proof that there's something inside me. And there's something inside you that refuses to die. Most people, like I said, they rebuild once in a lifetime. I've rebuilt 4, 5, 6 times, emotionally, financially, spiritually, relationally, every possible way. And here I am again at the edge of another freaking rebuild. Here's the truth, though. I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting from experience, from wisdom, from strength, from maturity, from scars that earn their place, and resilience forged right through the fire. But this rebuild won't destroy me. It's going to define me. I've been knocked down before plenty of times, but I've never stayed down. And that's not weakness. That's not desperation. It's not failure. It's who I am. Okay? That people see the outside stuff, the job, the house, the smile that you force on your face, the songs that you sing. I'm singing on stage, and if you're a musician, you're singing on stage. The way you show up, even when you're breaking inside, they see the surface level comeback. But the real rebuild, it's the one that actually matters, the one that happens in the dark when no one's clapping and no one's watching and no one's cheering you on, and happens in the moments that you don't post about, you don't talk about, you don't even admit out loud. That's the rebuild that no one sees. Because your rebuild, it starts in the moments that broke, not after, during. And repairing is when you try to fix what's broken, and rebuilding is what you do when something was too damaged to save. So some things are meant to be repaired, and some things aren't meant to, some things are meant to be replaced, and some seasons are meant to end. And some versions of you are meant to die. I don't know. It's just maybe so a stronger one can rise. All you need is the decision to take the next step, and that's kind of what you got to do. And you might not believe it now, but there will be a day when life feels like it's yours again. Not the old life, not the life you lost, but a new one. One that you never expected to find. And one day you're going to wake up, and the weight's not going to be so heavy. And one day you're going to look in the mirror and recognize your own eyes again. Because I look in the mirror and I feel like I look terrible. My bag's under my eyes. I'm aging myself, and I got to stop. But one day, like I said, when the memories are going to hurt less, and not because they're gone, but because you've grown around them. That's how you gotta feel. You'll feel a moment where your heart finally feels steady. A moment where the right people stay. A moment where the wrong people no longer have power in your life, and a moment when the pain that feels permanent becomes something that you just talk about from the other side. And not because you didn't love deeply, like I said, not because you didn't fight, not because the memories didn't matter, but because your soul finally accepts the truth that it had been resisting. You can't go back to a version of your life that required you to shrink, or bend, or beg, or prove your worth to someone who couldn't even see it, or tolerate uncertainty because you were terrified of losing them, or function on crumbs because you were just afraid to ask for more. That torture isn't anything you deserve, or you should accept. Nobody. And make no mistake, things can change and work if restoration is done with sincere change and real repentance. And if somebody really, really asks for forgiveness, you give it wisely. And you must learn that loyalty isn't measured on how long you stay, but by who deserves to stay with you. And not everyone does. You learn that someone who wants to be in your life will not make you question your place in theirs. Real love is steady, it's clear, it's consistent, and it doesn't need a translation. It really doesn't. Because you learn that begging for clarity, for reassurance or honesty, it's just a sign that you're starving emotionally. And healthy love feeds you, man. It doesn't keep you thirsty. There comes a point you stop looking behind you and you start looking ahead. You start imagining plans again, even tiny ones, maybe a gig, a trip, a podcast idea, or maybe a new book you want to read, or I don't know, or maybe something, like a new restaurant you want to go to, a day that you might actually just feel okay. You stop needing the past to return to feel whole. You don't need the past to do that anymore. Your healing is no longer tied to someone else's choices. You stop building without waiting for someone to come with you. You're not rebuilding for them. Now you're rebuilding for you. They've chosen to erase you, but it's not your fault. That's why you start rebuilding for you. And who knows, maybe with them or maybe with the new person. A rebuild after the rebuild it might be nothing like you imagine. It could be 1,000 times better. It just comes a turning point in the rebuild process where something shifts inside you. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it's powerful. At first, it feels like punishment, and you feel like you're starting over again, and you feel like life's ripping the pen out of your hand and rewriting the story without your permission. But then something changes. Rebuilding stops feeling like something life did to you, and it starts feeling like something that life's going to be doing for you. And that's when rebuilding stops being pain and it becomes purpose. The human heart is built to survive, even the things that were meant to destroy it. Sometimes healing doesn't come from a sermon or a quote or even a conversation. Sometimes it could come in a song that you weren't even looking for, a song that you didn't even plan on hearing, a song that just finds you. When it hits you, it doesn't just touch you, it breaks you open. It finds the exact place where the pain is hiding. It finds the sentence that you never knew how to say. It tells the truth that your heart's been carrying in silence. There's songs that hit your ears, and then there's songs that hit your life. And one of those songs finds you. You don't ask why. You don't question it. You don't push it away. You just let it speak because it's saying something that you've been trying to whisper for months. So I want you to take a breath right here. Let's take a little breath, and I want to tell you about so I mentioned this. I want to talk to you about a song that I found. As I told you, I intertwine songs and everything into these podcasts. So I found this one song. It's called "Love You Anyway" by Luke Combs. It's the heartbreak of a broken man still love true. The song, let me get my notes here. The song that stopped me these are my notes. The song that stopped me in my tracks. It was like someone reached inside my chest and wrote down exactly how my heart feels. So there's a line in that song, and when I heard it, I broke it. It said, "Even if I knew the day we met, you'd be the reason this heart breaks. Oh, I'd love you anyway." That one line, man. That one truth. I've lived it. And I'll be honest, that's the kind of love I gave, the kind of love that most people don't understand, the kind of love that doesn't come around often in this lifetime. Sometimes one time. Because when I loved, I didn't hold anything back. I didn't play games. I didn't love halfway. I loved like a man who finally found what he's been searching for his whole life. And the truth is, if I knew the ending, if I knew the heartbreak, if I knew the nights I'd spend crying, if I knew I'd have to rebuild myself all over again, I still would have loved her the same way. Because some people come into your life and they change you. And not because they stay, but because of what they awaken in you. You know, so that line from the song, even if I knew, I would still love you anyway. It's pretty deep. Because that's the kind of love that scars you. It's the kind of love that teaches you. So it's the kind that you just don't forget. And that's why rebuilding hurts so much, because you're not rebuilding from a bad love. You're rebuilding from a love that was real. I'm gonna talk about another song that I found. I've been playing this song for years. I never really listened to the lyrics until it hit me. When it's about you, things change. It seems like what you're living in. So there's a song by the script is called "I'm Falling to Pieces." Well, the phrase in it's called "I'm Falling to Pieces." The name of it's called "Break Even." The singer was like in this song, he's emotionally devastated and struggling to cope after a painful breakup. It symbolizes the feeling of a heart breaking and being shattered, especially when the other person seems unaffected and has moved on easily, as reflected in the song's central theme that when a heart breaks, it don't break even. The lyrics describe a state of emotional breakdown and grief, feeling like one is barely breathing despite being alive. It highlights the imbalance in a relationship after a breakup, when one person is left heartbroken while the other is seemingly fine, has already moved on. Falling to pieces is a metaphor for the intense pain and disintegration of feelings when a love is lost and the pain is not distributed equally. The song captures the anguish of the song captures the anguish of feelings where the singer is suffering the most while the other person is no trouble sleeping. That's what I'm trying to say. The lyrics are pretty deep, but like I said, there's no doubt that the love we had wasn't real. Everyone knows I believe that in my heart, and everybody knows I've said I've only truly loved once, and everybody knows me. I've told a million people that, and if that's all God has for me, then it was enough. I wouldn't change that feeling for anything. It was my life's purpose and meaning, and even though for whatever reason it's either refining rebuilding, ending, or paused. Who knows? I know I don't. Anyway, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here. But anyways, this girl came up to me at one of my gigs and she said, "Hey, I've been listening to your podcast station and I love it." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And she said, "I really admire how you opened up on that. You open up on it and you're not afraid or hesitant to talk about your inner feelings and emotions, especially about your personal stories and your love for someone else." She says, "I've never really had someone talk about loving me like that." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And she said, "I'm really admired by it." And she said, most men would never even do that. And I said, "Well, I'd stand on a hill or a mountain and I'd tell the world my words are true, and I'm genuine about my story and who I love, and it's all unconditional. So I don't care. I mean, I'm not embarrassed, and I'm actually proud of what we had. So that's who I am, and that's who I'll always be." But it worked out good because the girl kept sending me over drinks the entire night. I didn't pay for one drink. It's crazy. But let's get back to this. You know what I was talking about that song, what made me realize it made me the people who love the deepest are the ones, who break the hardest. Because when you love with everything you have, your heart doesn't just have a safety net. There's no halfway, no backup plan. I never had a backup plan. Never even thought about it. No emotional exit strategy. It was all in and nothing. I was all in, all my eggs in that basket. So when it ends, it feels like losing in your entire world. In this moment, at least, not just the person. I feel like I lost everything because it was my direction. Most people don't understand that level of love, though, I guess. Because sometimes I talk to people and they say stupid things, and I just say, "I guess you wouldn't. You don't understand." But because most people only love from the surface, a safe distance. The guarded ones, the conditional love. I don't love with conditions, but when you love someone so deeply, and that you've chosen them, and even if you knew that I don't know, even if you knew that one day they'd be the reason for your heartbreak, and you still do it. I didn't know. I'm just talking about that song. That's a rare kind of soul. People who love like that. We don't rebound. We don't replace. We don't move on, not for a while. We grieve, we feel, and we rebuild. And that's the meaning of this whole episode is about. It's about the cost of loving deeply. It hurts like hell. But here's the truth. Only people with big hearts feel this kind of pain, and people with big hearts also heal into something stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. So you gotta keep that energy. And if you've ever had a moment where you had to think if you ever had this moment, I have had it. That's what I'm asking. If you've ever had this moment, you think if they could just feel my heart for 1 minute, 1 damn minute, everything would be different. If they could actually put your heart in theirs for 1 minute, and they knew how you really felt. Because the truth is, most people don't know the depth of how you personally feel. They don't know the weight you carry, and they don't know the prayers you whispered, and they don't know how the nights that you cried alone. And for someone who who'll never truly understand the size of the love that you had for them, it just hurts. They don't know how the way your chest aches and the way you picture what life could have been. They don't know how many times that you picked them over yourself without them even seeing the cost of it. They don't know that your loyalty was real, that your intentions were pure, and that your love wasn't casual or just temporary or convenient. I'm not perfect, and I'm sure you're not, and I do stupid things, but deep down, I'm unconditional, man, and I'd give my life for somebody I loved. And I'm gonna talk about that right now because I just looked at a scripture here. It was rooted, it was deep, it was soul level. You would give your life for them. So John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." Yeah, that's how I feel. That's me. And you sit there thinking, if they could just feel this, if they could feel even one fraction of what I feel, and I think they'd just run right back to you. They would knock on your door with tears crying in their eyes and saying that they would say, "I finally understand." They'd actually probably say sorry. They'd probably rebuild. They would beg to rebuild what was broken. But Life doesn't work that way. People only feel their own heart. They don't feel yours, and you carry that level of love very few people in this world will ever be capable of understanding. So what do you do with this kind of love? You honor it. You don't shame it. You don't pretend it wasn't. You don't pretend it was weakness. You don't pretend that you were foolish for feeling that deeply. You're not a game. The ability to love this intensely doesn't make you broken. It makes you rare. One day somebody will not only feel your heart, they'll match it. But for now, you just rebuild, and you hope it's that you're forever or someone new. And not because, and I'm saying this because not because, like I said, the love wasn't real, not because they didn't matter, not because your heart didn't choose them with everything it had. You rebuild because your story isn't done, because your heart's still beating, and because God isn't finished with you yet. You love deeply, but you lost painfully, and it broke you. But you're still going. I'm just somebody. I'm talking to you. If this is you survive unjust circumstances like me. I've been through some unjust things in my life. I fought for my daughter for over a decade with the court system that I won, and I rebuilt. I rebuilt after losing that. I lost my house, my belongings, my family twice. I stepped up when other people always needed me. I was always there, and I've started over and over and over again, and I still found the strength to love without holding back, man. I'm very happy that God reads your heart and your mind, because as much as I think crazy things and I do crazy things, and I'm only human, I know I have a pure heart, and I know God loves that, and I'm glad He can read my heart, and I'm glad I don't have a black rotten heart, and I'm just glad I don't hurt people, and I'm glad He can read my heart, because He knows who I am, and He repays you. He repays us. He gives us what we deserve, is what I was trying to say. But that man I'm talking about, he didn't disappear. I'm still in there, man. I'm just rebuilding again. I'm finding a way. So I guess my heart is a gift. Just no one's had the capacity to receive it yet. My love is not small. It's not average. And for damn sure, my love is not replaceable. It is not replaceable. It's going to take a strong woman, a healed woman, a grounded woman to match a man like me. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel now. My depth, my passion, my intensity, my loyalty, my faithfulness, my desire to build a future side by side. I just need a solid, true, genuine match with appreciation. That will appreciate what she will own, because she's going to own me. Because that's how I am. And here's the truth. Not everyone is built for that. Not everyone heals enough to meet me. Not everyone grows enough to stand beside me. And that's not a reflection on my worth. It's a reflection of their capacity. I hate to say it, that's just fact. Some people are just used to chaos or instability, or they can't relate to maybe a sound true agape love. It's like they choose average when they can have the possibility of greatness. I just don't get it. So why someone chooses chaos over loyalty, or confusion over clarity, distraction over commitment, it's beyond me. But it's their choices. They own it. I don't, and you don't either. And most of the time this happens, and I'm talking to you, and I'm talking in my past, you're not replaced by something better, you're replaced by something easier. And karma will hand everyone involved exactly what's deserving. And it's just the way it goes. And just remember that your worth is not determined by who stays or who leaves. Your worth is built on who you are. And rebuilding starts with this one truth, that you don't need to validate begging someone to have a life worth living, because real futures aren't built on unstable foundations. You rebuild by taking the pieces of who you are, your loyalty, your strength, your faith, your depth, and you build something new and something stronger, Oh my God, I'm looking at my notes here. What do I got here for my notes and my time here? Let me take a sip of water here. Excuse me, because I'm losing my breath. Grab my water. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, this has been a very emotional podcast, at least for me, reliving some of this stuff, but I don't know. Anyways, you should never live questioning if someone loves you unconditionally. That's the truth. something rooted in truth instead of fear. And what does it mean to be unconditional? That means with no limits in any way, without restrictions, by conditions or qualifications, absolutely, completely, entirely, fully, totally, and wholeheartedly, without reservations, without restrictions, without exceptions, without limitations. If they are not there, they need to repair themselves, and then maybe there's a possibility of them fixing it with either with you or with somebody else, because we don't know, nobody knows the future. But you just find the one that, aligns with your soul and your purpose and your healing, and she's out there, man, somewhere, or he's out there somewhere, if you're a female listening to this. But because the world needs people who love unconditional, with intention, with devotion, like with real commitment, with vulnerability that most people are just too scared to show. It doesn't mean rushing into something new. It doesn't mean proving you're still desirable. It doesn't mean filling the silence with the wrong people or some rebound. It doesn't mean that. You start with yourself, because and when the right person eventually shows up, whether it's someone new or someone transformed from your past, your heart won't feel broken. It'll feel ready. And that's why you do it for yourself. Like I said, you still feel ready. You feel ready the way it wasn't before. And to the listener, you're going to love again. Not because you're desperate, not because you're lonely, not because you need someone to complete you, but because love is who you are. And rebuilding, that part of you is the most powerful healing work you'll ever do. You can't rebuild anything in your life. No trust, no peace, not love, without rebuilding your self-worth first. And that's why when people jump into these things, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to get off topic here. I just want to let's see what we're doing for time. I don't even know. We're not doing too bad, I don't think. But a person can only love you at the level they are healed. A person can only stay consistent at the level that they're committed. And a person can only show up on the level that their character allows. Some people are who they are. Their actions will tell a lot about their character. Discernment has to be a factor after the rebuild too. Because I've seen it time and time again. Some people will come, they'll continue to destroy others and then play victim and saying that they're being judged because their actions, they're going to say they're being judged, but their actions are beyond obvious. Some of these people have patterns. They do it continually. You're just the next person they did it to. You just got to watch out for this stuff. They try to justify it by pretending someone else or something never judges them. They cling to that for false comfort. They're just lying to themselves, my friends. But many are not capable of choosing the right way. It could be because they're confused, or they have no direction, or they're just searching for something that they're never going to find. Because it's like the song. They're searching for love in all the wrong places. And sometimes we forgive people who don't even deserve access. We chase people who are running away. Why? Who knows? Love is just crazy sometimes. We beg for clarity from people who thrive on confusion. We wait for someone who isn't even waiting for themselves. We expect crumbs because you forgot you deserve the whole meal on the table. And you get this myth, the starting over myth. People love to say, oh, you just have to start over, like it's some kind of a failure. It's just a myth. You're not really going to get back what you lost. You're rebuilding to become someone who never settles for less. And one day you're going to look back and realize, as Chris Stapleton sang in the song Starting Over, but nobody wins afraid of losing, and the hardest roads are the ones worth choosing. Someday we'll look back and smile and know it was worth every mile. I'm going to put that song in the description as well. Starting Over. But it's about finding hope and taking a fresh start in life, embracing change even when the future is uncertain. He uses this metaphor of a road trip to represent moving on from problems. And the lyrics emphasize companionship and the idea that starting over with someone that you love is a worthwhile risk. The theme of beginning anew makes the song relatable to listeners facing their own challenges, whether personal or professional. The song encourages listeners to take a chance on a fresh start, symbolized by the line, and honey, for once in our life, let's take our chances and roll the dice. Despite acknowledging the difficulties ahead, the lyrics are filled with hope for a better future, suggesting that looking back, the struggles would have been worth it. It's a central message. The central message is the support and love from a partner who makes the new beginning possible and meaningful. The chorus includes the lines, "It don't matter to me, whoever we are is where I want to be." The song doesn't specify the exact troubles that he's talking about or he's escaping. It's allowing listeners to project their own situations onto the lyrics and find assurance and the ideas of moving forward. Like I said, I'll put that in the description, and I'm going to put a video of Chris Stapleton discussing the meaning of the song. I found it was really interesting. It's really cool. And he points out the same line that I quoted in this video, and I had written this podcast out, my notes, and when I wrote about the notes on that song, he quoted the same reference, which I thought was pretty cool. So anyway, rebuilding is a moment you choose, and against every emotion in your body to keep going. And revenge rebuilding is loud. It's posting things that you don't mean. It's pretending that you're happier than you are. It's trying to make someone jealous. It's trying to make them regret their choice. It's straight immaturity, but that's like revenge rebuilding. That's what they call revenge rebuilding. But it just that kind of rebuilding always collapses. It's because it's built on someone else's opinion, someone else's attention, and someone else's validation. So real rebuilding, it's quiet, it's private, it's sacred. It's becoming the person that you were meant to be before life broke you, and not to show them what they lost, but to show you what you're capable of. So you rebuild so you can breathe again, and so you can sleep again, and you can trust again, and you can live again. And you rebuild so the next love, whoever God ordains it to be, new or old, gets a healed version of you and not a shattered one. You rebuild so your future doesn't bleed with the pain of your past. If it's new, with this version of you I'm talking about, it's a better version of you, this new version. Because if someone comes back broken, apologizing, and maybe begging, or maybe they really woke up, hopefully you'd have the clarity and the strength to handle it pure and wise. Because some people do wake up and they try to come back. And it's happened to me, and it may happen to me again, but you have to be prepared. And I've said, if it's divine intervention, it's not your call anyway, it's God's. And if it's his will to reunite you with somebody, he wants you to be together, it's going to happen. If not, if it's a new person, it's going to be a new person. But you just got to be careful, because some people play mind games. If they're not changing, you got to be careful. But if they do change, and if they've really changed, I say do it. If that's what your heart leads, do it. But also know, here's the hardest part, that they can do the same thing to you again. Sometimes the only way to grow is to accept that going back could cost you more than the loneliness that you felt today, that you're feeling right now. So be careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do it, just be careful. So rebuilding is it's waking up alone after being used to someone breathing beside you, and it's eating dinner by yourself after months of sharing meals with somebody that you thought would stay. It's walking into the places where people used to look at you as a pair, and now they look at you with sympathy that you never asked for. And everything is just different. It's strange. It's just not complete. It's a different kind of ache that shows up when the dust settles, though. So kind of my life right now, but I'm making it. This is where I have to stop from. And you try to reach for anything normal when everything feels out of place and not normal. You just have no choice but to be strong, and maybe you learn how to be strong, and you try to find that space where your heart finally gets a chance to breathe. And that part's important. It's not making the mistake like a rebound situation or anything like that, because those situations, the healing never goes away, never, and nothing gets repaired, and the cycle just continues. So you can't rebuild with distractions, man, and chaos and the confusion and the mixed signals. Yes, loneliness hurts, but sometimes God puts you in isolation, not to punish you, but to prepare you. And so it seems, though. So sometimes the greatest rebuild happens after the deepest loneliness. So my final closing, I'm going to close this out, what rebuilding really means. And after everything I've lived, and after every collapse and every heartbreak and every time I've had to start from scratch, here's what I finally understand. It's about rising from the rooms where you were ignored, walking away from the tables where you were starving, and closing the doors that God didn't want you walking through anymore. Rebuilding it is not punishment. Rebuilding is a transformation. I've rebuilt with empty pockets, and I've rebuilt after betrayal, and I've rebuilt after losing my home, my family, my future, and everything I worked for, and I've rebuilt after disappointment. I've rebuilt after losing my dignity, and after divorce, and after being cheated on not once, twice, and maybe more. And who knows, like I said, how many more, but I've rebuilt when I didn't think I had one more rebuilt left in me. So now here I am, rebuilding. I guess this is life, losing something that I gave my whole heart to, something I believed in with everything inside me. And I'll be honest, this one took the most out of me. But this one will also build me into the strongest version of me, because rebuilding teaches you things that no one else can. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you courage. It teaches you that even when you felt thrown away, like you meant nothing, God whispers that you still mean everything to me. And maybe that's something to think about. Something to think that sometimes that the thing that you're grieving is the thing God removed, so you could just finally become who you're meant to be. And maybe that could be your case. I don't know. So if you're listening right now and your heart is shattered and you don't know how to start again, and you don't even feel like the same person anymore, I want to tell you something. You don't have to rebuild fast. You don't have to rebuild perfectly. You don't have to rebuild confidently. You just have to rebuild honestly. One breath, one morning, and one small decision at a time. You rebuild by walking forward even when your heart is still bleeding. And that, my friend, that's strength. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you rebuild, you rise higher. You become wiser. You become clearer. You become stronger, and you become more you. And when God is the one guiding the rebuild, the next chapter is always going to be better. When God's the one that's rebuilding it. So, this has been interesting and informative, I think. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. So if no one chose you, choose yourself. If someone replaced you, replace the pain with purpose. And if someone walked away, walk toward the life God's preparing for you, because you're not done. You're not defeated, and you're not forgotten. You, my friend, you're rebuilding, and what God rebuilds is always stronger than the people that destroyed you. So wherever you are tonight, I'm proud of you. Keep going, keep breathing, keep rising. The best version of you is still being built. And I'm going to close with this little prayer that I wrote down. I've been closing with the prayers, and I'm getting more comments about them, so I'm going to continue doing them. So this is for the one who's rebuilding, and we're going to close this out. So God, tonight I come to you with a heart that's tired from breaking and tired from rebuilding, but still trying. You see every part of me, the pieces I've been holding together, the memories that still sting, the fear of starting over again. And Lord, I ask you to step into that place with me where I feel weak. Give me strength. Where I feel lost, give me direction. And where I feel empty, fill the space and the spaces that nothing else can reach. Help me rebuild, not out of desperation, not out of loneliness, but out of purpose, with you leading every step. And remind me that what collapsed was not the end of my story. And remind me that what was taken was not the end of my worth. And remind me that you restore what people fail to protect. And if there are people meant to return, bring them back healed, honest, and aligned with your will. And if they are not part of my next chapter, give me peace to release them without bitterness. Heal my heart, God. Rebuild my spirit. Guide my future. And steady my steps. And surround me with your love until the pain becomes purpose and the hurt becomes healing. And thank you for staying close when everyone else has walked away. Everyone. And thank you for making beauty from the pieces that I thought were ruined. I trust you with what comes next. Amen, in Jesus' name. So, thank you, and, I want to just tell you what's ahead. We got Eric, Karen coming up, and Brian when I do the live podcast. And I'm going to do a positive one next time. So I didn't want these all to feel like Debbie Downers, but just kind of what I am in my life right now. So maybe I'm going to do one on appreciation next time. I don't know. Because I'm definitely appreciative. I don't want people to think that even in this rebuild, I'm so appreciative. I wouldn't give up anything. I wouldn't change a damn thing for what I've lived and the blessings I've had. So I don't want anybody to think anything negative of anybody either. So thank you for listening to Cracked Open on Rebuilding. If this episode reached you, if it helped you or made you feel less alone, I'm grateful. This podcast isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. And if you're rebuilding right now, just know that that you're stronger than you feel. You're closer to healing than you think. And the next chapter is already being written. So I appreciate you being here. Take care of your heart, take care of your peace, and keep going. Stay true, stay hopeful, stay kind, and keep walking forward. as life cracks you open. And please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. And thank you for those of you who have. And please like it and share it and trying to get this word out there. So just remember, your integrity is your legacy, and treat others the way you want to be treated, and treat your neighbors as yourself, because karma has no favorites. So this has been Cracked Open with Glen Nunes. Until next time, take care of your heart, your peace, and your purpose. I love you, and you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to Cracked Open. If today's episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need a little light in their own dark season. Remember, even in brokenness, there's beauty waiting to be found. Every crack is a place where the light can shine through. Until next time, stay true, stay hopeful, and keep your heart open.